Good morning. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery, and we have a low network connection. Ange.
Hi, my name's Haiti.
I was
Sorry, I know. But
I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. My name is Felice. This is our Sunday morning Why Wait for Recovery community recovery meeting. And
My name's Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I am an overeater. I'm a binge eater. I'm a purger. I'm a food addict and a drug addict in recovery.
I am a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic in recovery. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, you guys.
And we get together twice a week to discuss. We are friends in recovery. We're not any of the A's. This is not a formal meeting. This is just us discussing how we stepped into the solution and what we do to stay healthy and happy.
Right, and how we do our best to do our best and stay in community so that we could stay in recovery.
Right, so what we do is we have a group of friends, we get together in person in South Florida, and we also live stream across the web. So we're on Facebook, we Google, we're all over on YouTube. You can step into the meeting. If you're on Facebook, have a look onto the meeting ID. You can step into our virtual room. No one sees you, you keep your anonymity, and you can participate in the conversation because it's really our secrets that keep us sick.
And so they say, and so that is the truth. And this morning we're going to have a reading from, so we're not affiliated with any of the A's. As Haiti said, we're not NA or AA or OA or any of those, but we all grew up there. And so we do practice what we've learned there, and we are going to read this morning from one of the books from NA.
So I just want to preface it as well. You know, for a lot of us, when we were stuck in our addiction, we never saw a way out, and we were the center of our own worlds, and we thought that we needed to rely on willpower and ourselves to fix things. But we came to believe that there's a force greater than ourselves, and it doesn't matter what that force looks like to you. Some people call it God, some people call it good orderly direction, some people call it the great outdoors. Some people rely on the room, the doorknob, whatever, even getting out of bed in the morning. Anything that can take us out of ourselves. So this is not a religious program. We are spiritual, and interpret the reading whatever way makes you feel comfortable, because at the end of the day, it's a substance that we pick up, no matter what it is, that we use to change the way that we're thinking, and that becomes the obsession. And that is really what defines me as an addict, is I use different things to change how I feel.
Right, and so you're talking about our thinking. So that we say that we have a disease of thinking, and like Haiti said, it doesn't matter if we're picking up food or alcohol or drugs, or if we're starving ourselves to death. It doesn't really matter. It matters what's going on in here that's incorrect, that's allowing us to reach for whatever that behavior is that we're using, that we'd be a whole lot better off and a whole lot happier if we weren't. Hi, Laura. You want to go ahead and read?
Sure.
And this is from the Just for Today, right?
Yeah, just for today, April 29th. Living just for today relieves the burden of the past and the fear of the future. We learn to take whatever actions are necessary and to leave the results in the hands of our higher power. That's from the basic text, if anybody wants to look it up. Page 94. In our active addiction, fear of the future and what might happen was a reality for many of us. What if we got arrested, lost our job, our spouse died, we went bankrupt, and on and on and on. It was not unusual for us to spend hours, even whole days, thinking about what might happen. We played out the entire conversation and scenarios before they even occurred, then chartered our course on the basis of what if. By doing this, we set ourselves up for disappointment after disappointment. From listening to meetings, we learned that living in the present, not the world of what if, is the only way to short circuit our self-fulfilling prophecies and doom and gloom. We can only deal with what is real today, not our fearful fantasies of the future. Coming to believe that our higher power has the only best in store for us, one way we can combat that fear. We hear in meetings that our higher power won't give us more than we can handle in one day. And we know from experience that if we ask, the God we've come to understand will surely care for us. We stay clean through adverse situations by practicing our faith in the care of a power greater than ourselves. Each time we do, we become less fearful of what if and more comfortable with what is. Just for today, I will look forward to the future with faith in my higher power.
You know, I want to speak about that real quickly. You know, when we talk about what ifs, it's not only the what ifs I think that we stay stuck in, but also the if onlys. And so I think that we spend a lot of time thinking about yesterday, and if we only did this, and if this only happened, if I only said this, and if she only showed up like that. And anytime that we're stuck in the past or stuck in the future, we're stuck. And so we know that every negative one of our emotions is fear-based. And we know that all of that is fear-based, right? If I'm afraid about what's going to happen tomorrow, then I'm living in tomorrow instead of today. When it says God gives us no more than we can handle, I used to find that disrespectful, because I used to think, well, God did give some of us more than we could handle at the time. You guys know that I'm the mom of the 17-year-old that died in the accident. So I used to take that very personally. What we do learn is that the world is going to turn however the world is going to turn. And it's not my responsibility to know what's going to happen and when it is going to happen. And as long as I'm worried about what might happen tomorrow, right this minute, I'm missing the movie. And you know, kids do die, and so do our parents, and people get sick, and people have car accidents, and people lose their jobs. And all of those things do happen because that's life showing up. When they talk about living life on life's terms, it means some things are going to show up. They're going to show up for all of us. And so it's doing our best to do our best right now, and not having that faith that tomorrow everything's going to be great. Tomorrow everything's going to be exactly the way that it is. And the way that I look at today is going to define whether or not I'm going to feel okay about going into tomorrow. And so if I look at right this minute and look at what's best in right this minute, or understand that whatever is happening right this minute is only happening for right this minute, I think that that's what keeps me healthier and allows me to be happier in this minute. That's how I feel about it.
And for myself, as you speak, I mean, this really triggers quite a few things for me. One is, as a food addict, one of the things that I do is when I get really fearful, I want to just basically numb out. And one of the ways that I'll do it is through eating, and then it becomes counting from meal to meal to meal, and I start going, well, I'm eating breakfast, what am I having for lunch, what am I having for dinner, what am I having as a snack, and my whole day revolves around food. And I'm driving through drive-thrus, and I'm ordering stuff and hiding wrappers and throwing them out before I get home, and telling the woman behind the window, for my kid, like she really gives a shit. And then I start the binging, and then I get home and I start the purging, and it becomes this whole thing that really started with a conversation that maybe I had an argument with my kid, and I should have just said either I'm sorry or this is what really is bothering me. So instead of really dealing with that situation as it happens, I really start doing other things and start not wanting to deal with how I feel to basically numb what's going on. So for me, it either means I'm picking up food, I'm picking up cigarettes, I'm picking up marijuana, whatever it is, I'm doing something else other than being present. And I think also a lot of the stuff that started happening is I would take on stuff that happened to other people, or that happened as it happening to me, and personalize it, because chaos for me is one of the ways that I can justify using. So when my world is chaotic, I can look at everything else and look at everyone else and not really need to look at me and deal with the real issue, which is really me.
Yeah, and so what happens too when we're not in that very beginning of our, you know, right when we first get clean, immediately when something's going on, we want to use. And so that's normal, and so we know that we're all going to feel like that. And then sometimes it's almost even harder as we've got a little bit of recovery, and we say, okay, I'm not going to use, but now what am I going to do? So I'm not going to go from drive-through to drive-through, and I'm not going to do those things, which is what I depended on for so long. What is it that I'm going to do now? And to stay stuck and scared and miserable, for me, is just as bad as picking up. You know, they say that a relapse happens long before we pick up, right? And
Right.
so I think that when we're talking about living in this moment and not worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, and being able to realize that whatever is going on in this moment, there is something that I could do about it, even when I'm not falling back on that just picking up. When you talk about chaos, that's one of the things that a lot of people do get into, because it doesn't look like they're picking up. So now I have these own problems, and instead I'm going to take on your problems, because I still don't need to look at myself. So when I'm in active addiction, and or when I'm living in somebody else's chaos, that gives me every reason not to take a look at what's going on with me and my own fears and work through my own fears. So thanks for sharing that, because that was good to see.
Sure. So the way that this works is you're able to either share on what we just read or whatever's going on in your world, and this is how we join as a community. We live in community. It's where that we start getting better and we start asking for help when we need it. And we're with like-minded people, so we actually have an online community called What's Eating You.
We do.
We do, and we'll discuss it a bit later, but can we check in with everyone?
We can.
Do you want to start on
Good
this
morning.
side, or-
We want to go through, or we want to let people check in, or good morning, Teresa. What's up,
Good
girl?
morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back here. I was here like 3 weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
and I'm happy to say that things are better. I haven't had sugar since that day.
Good.
So I'm very happy about that, one day at a time. And I have had a few things that have that overlap on the Thursday, so that's
That's
not working
okay.
for me. But
Talk
I'm
to me
really,
about fear right now.
committed to coming on Sunday mornings now. I've had
Okay.
a few things that were on my calendar that couldn't be changed, but I am grateful for this community, and I'm happy to be back in a place where people speak recovery. So, good morning.
Anything that you're dealing with that's fear-based right now that you want to touch on that keeps you from staying in this moment?
I have a legal situation that has been pending for many years,
Mhm.
that is about to come to a head, and although I'm not really in a place of fear, I'm really in a place of knowing that whatever happens is the right thing, and that God, the universe, whatever anybody wants to call it, for me it's God. God has this and has had my back through the whole process, and I feel like it's all going to work out however it's going to work out, but whatever's going to happen is going to be the best thing for me, because sometimes I don't know what's best for me. And I just I try to manipulate situations to where I think it would be the best for me, and whatever's going to happen with this situation and circumstances, is okay. Although there's a little bit of fear because there's a lot behind this whole thing, I know that it's all good. I know it's all good. And I also know that food's not going to stop anything from happening regardless of what it is.
Yeah, and I think that what you said was most important was whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Whether
Yeah.
you're worried about it for the next, I don't know when it comes to fruition, but let's say it's in a week. If you choose to worry for a week, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. If you choose
Yeah.
not to worry for a week, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. As long as you're proactive, doing your best, and doing the things that you are in control of, you've done your job. Whether I worry or not, at 5 o'clock today, it's going to be 5 o'clock today. I've
Exactly.
either gone through my day scared and upset, or I've gone through my day not thinking about it at this point, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And so
Yeah.
that's me living in the moment and not living in that fear, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So thanks
Yeah,
for
so-
sharing that. And as far as saying whatever's going to happen is going to be what's best, I don't know if it's going to be what's best, but it is going to be what it is. Right? I don't know how you'll feel about it when it happens, but whatever it is going to be what it is, and dealing with what it is has its own time.
Exactly.
Right? And that'll be once something happens, that whether you need to take action or not. Yes.
Yeah, and I go back to the, Katie said it a few minutes ago, all this stuff doesn't happen to you. And I got to go back to that Tony Robbins thing. Things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So it may not look like it's the best thing for me at whatever I'm facing in any given moment, but somewhere in the end, I feel like many situations that I've drawn experience from before, somewhere in the end, I'll be grateful for whatever it is that comes to fruition through this whole thing.
And I'm
I'm
going
trying to stay in that mindset rather than going into the fear and worry, as you just said, because it doesn't do any good. It doesn't do any good. And when I'm in that space, I have more of a chance of doing things that harm myself rather than staying in the moment. So this is a really good conversation.
Yeah, and I understand that Tony Robbins says that they don't happen to you, they happen for you. I don't believe that my son's death happened for me.
Oh,
I
no,
just,
no,
it's
no,
okay.
no.
But I do believe that it happened.
Yeah.
Whatever I did with that during and after, and whatever I've learned from it, whatever life's lesson I've learned, I've learned.
Right.
But I do believe, again, that everything happens. They say everything happens for a reason. Well, everything for sure happens. So that I can promise. Everything happens. Why it happens, I don't know, because I'm not God. I'm not the universe. But it does
Exactly.
happen. And me living there and staying there, which I did for a really long time, just kept me really, really, really fearful and sick. And me living in this moment now keeps me not fearful and not sick. So everything does happen, and it'll happen in its time when it happens, and how we stay in this moment and live our life for this moment, because I don't know if I have 5 seconds from this moment. But I do know that I have this moment now to do my best, to do my best. Thank you, Teresa.
Exactly.
You know, one of the gifts that I've got from recovery is learning about myself and learning about how I sit in the world around me. Because before stepping in, and on the times that I relapse, I start going into those personal challenges of mine, of that indignation, that sense of needing to control things. And one of the things that I've learned is that really I control very little, other than my perspective and my reaction. And when I start getting into that control mode, then something's up with my recovery and with what I'm actually doing. That means I'm not working my program to be as healthy as possible, because then I start getting into that chaos mode and then I become this crazy lunatic. So I think also it's the lessons of acceptance, that whatever's going to happen, I really have very little control over it, other than the things that my own behaviors and my own reactions. Those things I can control.
Yeah, and that crazy lunatic is that person that we all become when we're fueled by fear. And it's always going to go back to that. That anytime that we're nuts, it's because we're walking around in fear. Laura, how are you?
If you want to say something,
Oh,
you
yes,
can
shout
just
out, you
shout
guys,
This
please
is a conversation. This is
Laura, how are you feeling?
Hi, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm irritable.
You know, fine, we're not allowed to say it, right? That's effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Oh my God, I love that.
I've never heard that word. Completely irritable. And I don't know if it's because I'm not using, right? Or if it has anything to do with the fact that I'm eating so many less calories. I have no idea, but I can tell you, I am one irritable human being. Right
Okay,
now.
fair enough.
I would love to say something. I was a miserable bitch after my surgery, because I was detoxing not only from the surgery, but from all the other crap in my system that I'd had for years and years and years. And not only that, I didn't have my go-to best friend of picking up and using food and going to hide, and that secret drawer had to disappear. So all of a sudden, my legs were like hit out from underneath me, that I didn't know how to deal with things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you have a lot going on, especially right in the beginning, because you are detoxing. And so you're going to need to just go with it, expect that I'm going to feel like crap for a little while, and it's okay, because it's not going to be forever. And then
Right.
spiritually, you're going to feel like crap for a while, and that's what you're going to work on. So the actual detox, the acute withdrawal, which is what you're going through right now, is just your brain, your dopamine receptor withdrawing from that sugar. And then soon you get to look, forward to going through some kind of spiritual detox where you learn not to do the things that you were doing and learn to step into in recovery. You're doing your work from the workbook, right?
Yeah.
And you're reaching out with Angeli, right? You're speaking with
Yep.
Ange? Okay. All right, good. So that's the beginning. Showing up is part of the beginning, and just knowing that this process in the beginning sucks for every single one of us.
And you just touched on something that I just really need to bring up, because I'm post-bariatric surgery. I lost 150 pounds from the surgery. But what I lost more than that is I lost all those behaviors that I had before, because I stepped into recovery. So if nothing changes by doing the surgery, nothing's going to change. because a lot of people out there go for surgery thinking that it's a cure-all and it's a fix-all, and then you'll lose all the weight, look fabulous, be happy, but you don't change the feelings by how you're looking on the outside. It's really what's happening on the inside. So going through it and doing the work, this is the best time to do it because you've been given a gift of time off. So if you're able to focus on yourself and getting well and healing yourself and starting a process, listen, addiction didn't happen overnight. You know, we don't get where we are overnight. It's a process. It takes time. So you're not going to get fixed in a day, and there's no fixing ourselves. It's a process. Once we are addicts, and we always need to be working a program. But you stepped in at the right time, which is awesome.
And the thing is, Laura, is the people who do believe that their surgery is the answer and they're going to lose 150 pounds and stay skinny and happy. I see every one of those patients back in my office who have gained back 160 pounds 2 years, 3 years out past their surgery, because spiritually they're thinking nothing's changed. They're still walking around the same fear that they always were, and they're skinny on the outside. And I tell this story almost every single meeting, where I came into the house and you're 100 pounds skinnier, and I'm like, you look great. You were crying. I said, you look great. How do you feel? And you were stuck in fear and you were feeling miserable. And the fact that you looked great on the outside doesn't have shit to do with how we feel on the outside. It's like when we stop drugging and we gain a couple of pounds and everybody says, oh my God, you look so great. Yeah, well, okay, I look great because I gained a couple of pounds because I'm not eating 400 milligrams of Oxycontin a day. Now I'm just petrified all the time, petrified, and I want to die because I'm not using. So to not step into some kind of recovery program guarantees, and I'm going to say this, I mean, I'm not God, so to say it guarantees that you're going to gain the weight back, maybe that's an exaggeration, but I haven't met anybody who's lost the weight and kept the weight. You guys, if the weight was your problem, you'd all diet and be skinny.
Right,
And
if
you
it's
wouldn't
not-
be here
And
at this
if you
meeting.
don't gain the weight back, there's a huge chance of you picking something else
Yeah,
up.
you're an
So it's
alcoholic or
either
an
cigarettes
anorexic
or
or-
gambling or
Yeah.
sex or something else. So unless we deal with the addiction and what makes us sick, and we don't step into recovery, we're bound to just replace that with something else. Because we're addicts at the end of the day. We don't like how we feel and
We're-
feeling uncomfortable.
We're addicts at the beginning of the
Yeah,
day too.
exactly.
I was an addict all day
All
long.
day.
So yeah. So good for you for stepping in. And Angela, that's how you did it. I mean, you stepped into recovery right before, right? You stepped into recovery whether you wanted to or not.
Well, I was
accidentally.
I was in program before, but I really never stepped into recovery until
Right.
a year out after I relapsed. So
Right.
then, then I really started getting recovery and understanding what it looked like when I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah, and with Jess too. Jess, I'm gonna call on you because we met right before you went into treatment, and you've been clean. And so it's not just that you stopped doing what it is that you were doing. You stopped doing it and stepped into recovery right away.
Yep.
Correct?
Yes, that's right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Yes.
Anything going on fear-based that you want to share, or
Well,
anything that you
otherwise-
want to talk with us about?
Yeah. So how we say like a relapse happens long before you pick up. Like I'm trying to catch it before it gets to that point because I feel myself like my thinking kind of changing a bit. Just like Katie had said before, just kind of focusing on like counting down like what am I going to have for lunch or what am I going to have for a snack. It's just becoming an obsession mentally in that way again, and I'm trying to stop it before I do pick up because I don't want to go there. I've just had a lot of fear-based things lately, and I've tried to live in the moment and not fear. And now that I'm through those things, it's a relief. But again, like you said, my quote-unquote best friend isn't there. Like I used to be so relieved and like, oh my gosh, I can breathe again, and would go to celebrate with food and things like that. And I'm learning not to do that, or I have learned not to do that. But the thoughts are kind of still there, you know?
Yeah, and that's celebrating with food. How'd that work out for you?
Well, in the past, no, not so great.
Right. So that's the part too, that no matter what we're going through, we need to remember, right? That celebration brings us right back to the beginning. And so you did just say you went through a bunch of stuff that you were having some fear about. if you're still
Yeah.
thinking about using a whole lot, then I want you to think about what it is that's keeping you afraid right now. Beside the fact that you're not picking up, but what else is keeping you afraid so that you can work on that.
And
Yeah,
I
and I'm
just,
not,
I'm
I
sorry.
wouldn't say I'm thinking about using per se. I'm just focused on the foods that I can eat. I'm still focused on food. So to me, that's not a great thing.
Right, and so that's what you're focusing on now. So why is that? There's a why behind that because it's never about the food, right? It's about the
Right.
why. So I'm gonna challenge you to think about what that why is, and then work on that. Yeah.
And also, I have certain, as a food addict, I have certain triggers, and those triggers for me is diet and scale. So when I start thinking diet and along the ways of diet, of I'm not allowed to have this or I can't do that, and I start doing that diet mentality instead of making choices and having hard line things of I'm just choosing not to do this because it makes me feel like crap at the end of the day. And I start planning on what I'm actually doing for the rest of the week, and I take away that obsession out of my mind because I know it's already taken care of. Then it's not about the food. And if I'm hopping on the scale the whole time, then I know I'm back in that diet mindset and not in recovery. And also, I think for me, it's really important to try that balance, that mind, body, spirit thing. Because I find that when I am exercising or I am doing the other stuff that makes me feel good, beyond just focusing on me, because I become very self-obsessed as well. And then I start looking for things that are wrong. If I start just being in the moment, kind of shifts that as well. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
And keep reaching out, Jess.
I will.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
We're going around this way. Angie, you want to share?
Come back to me after. I'll share this.
Good morning.
I've been in a little bit of fear lately. I don't feel like myself, although that's kind of a vague statement. I was feeling really positive and good and energized and productive, and past couple of weeks I've been much less so. And I don't like that feeling. I like to be euphoric feeling.
Right, I'm an addict. Yay! If I'm not feeling yay, then I have to fix something, right? You know, sometimes we don't have to fix nothing. Sometimes we have to have a shit day and say, wow, this was a really tough, shitty day. I'm super glad that I got through it. Let me do my gratitude list at the end of the night so that I can refocus on what it is that I'm grateful for. Let go of some of the shit that I'm stressing about that ain't helping me anyway, right? And look forward to a good night's sleep and starting over again tomorrow. You know, that's another thing too. It's really the truth. We expect that we step into recovery. Well, now I'm in recovery and I'm not using, which means that every single second of my life, I should just be happy, joyous, and free because I'm doing the things I was supposed to be doing in the first place. Right? So now it's like, okay, I want 73 gold stars because today I didn't pick up. We talk about, well, I didn't piss in the street today, so I want 73 gold stars because I didn't piss in the street. Well, I wasn't supposed to be pissing in the street, and I wasn't supposed to be eating 63 Oreos or 400 milligrams of oxycodone. I wasn't supposed to be doing any of that stuff because it wasn't good for me. So today, I'm living life, as they say, on life's terms. And so not every single second, we're just, yay, right? We're just doing our best to do our best and to find out where the yay is in that day. Is there anything specifically that you can pinpoint
No, I don't think so.
that's making you feel, you know, a little oogie or maybe walking around a little bit of fear or just,
Well, I'm doing less. I mean, I'm working my program a little bit less.
because,
I don't know.
okay.
Feeling low energy.
Okay, so sometimes when we're feeling low energy, so you and I in common, we have relapse, right? I relapsed after 7 years, you relapsed after I don't know how long. And so we need to, especially, not that everybody else doesn't, but I'm gonna tell you that we need to make sure that we're doing what we need to do if we feel ourselves slipping back, which you're reaching out and you're saying it out loud, which for me is the most important thing, is to say it out loud, because if I tell on myself, then there's a better chance that I'm not going to pick up, which you're doing. And then if you feel like you're not as involved, get your butt out of your house and do something. And if you're not going to go to a meeting, reach out to be of service. Do something and be of service. Call somebody else and say, how are you today? Is there something that I could help you with today?
You know, one of the things that it also reminds me of is when I first started, the last time I stepped into program, I started realizing there were a whole lot of emotions that I didn't know what they really felt like or to name them, because I've never experienced them. I was either happy or sad, and it was like that pendulum. It was nothing in between. So also being able to sit and identify them was a whole new learning experience for me. But also I get into that I don't want to thing, that mindset. So as I become more I don't want to do a lot of stuff because my comfortable place is isolating and then using. Like that's where the scale slides down for me. So and I do get into those sometimes, and I started noticing that in myself as well, when I'm watching more TV and I want to spend more time in the room and I don't want to go outside that often, and I've got excuses for not doing things. So for me, those are also, as you mentioned, I'm going, maybe I need to pay more attention to those behaviors in me, step into service or do something else, go for a walk, do something other than what I'm doing because it's not making me feel good.
And also to remember that sometimes it's okay just not to be, yay, and sometimes it's okay to recognize how we feel, recognize why we're feeling the way that we're feeling, right? So that we could get to the core. Because remember, saying I'm scared is great, but why am I afraid? Right? Why am I not accepting something that I can't change right now? We say that prayer 80,000 times a day. What is it that I'm fighting against right now? Right? It's raining out. I'm pissed off. Okay, it's raining out. Be as pissed off as you want. It's raining out, right? I'm gonna accept the fact that it's raining out because there ain't a friggin' thing that I can do about it. So, and that's super simple thing to say, but what is it that's going on that's allowing me to be discontent? I want to Thursday again read the thing about acceptance, because when there's something unacceptable, it's because I'm trying to change something outside of myself that I think is making me feel a certain way. When in fact, when I'm not in acceptance, there's something about me. I need to change my perspective so I could accept the way that things are happening around me, because it's not going to stop raining no matter how mad I am.
I was listening to a really amazing speaker the other day, and he was talking this whole concept that we as Westerners have of being happy. It's like a Western concept that we are meant to be happy. There's no such entitlement. There's like so many cultures around the world where living in joy is a totally different thing of being happy, where you're joyful to be alive, you're joyful to be able to interact with other people. Not every single experience and not everything that happens is a good, happy thing, but we seem to strive for like instant gratification and happiness as I'm entitled to be happy today, and if things aren't working out the way that I want to, life is terrible. So we seem to have this really interesting pendulum that we go through.
And you're actually talking about happiness as a buzz.
Right.
So we're talking about happiness as a high, not as opposed to just living in a state of being happy because I'm happy for you, or because I am happy that I woke up today, or that I am happy that the world is turning the way that it's turning. So again, we're talking about not being in acceptance, which we call happy, which means that we're stoned on something that's going on in life.
So we
Right?
could be stoned on so many things: drugs, people, food,
Chaos,
chaos.
right.
Right. Romanticizing the high.
Right, or romanticizing.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
We also, Karen's back, and we.
Karen, did you go walk your puppy?
I did, and she's so happy and blessed and grateful that it's a beautiful day because she wanted to stay outside.
How are you? Anything up? We're talking about fear and lack of acceptance.
Yeah, this is going to sound very strange, and I don't mean it humorously at all. I'm worried about her because I created this little anorexic puppy who doesn't want to eat because I was trying to fix her this and fix her that and vary her diet. And I think I've just got her so confused. So I'm just having to kind of do some tough puppy love and just say, here it is, enjoy it or not. And that's hard for me.
Yeah, so that's a codependent kind of little thing you got going there with the puppy.
It is.
Yeah, so the dog is a dog. God bless your dog. and the
I
dog's
know.
gonna eat if it's
I'm
hungry.
telling myself that.
And all of the crazy that's going on is going on with you, as you know, not with the dog. You're so awesome, and I know that you know that, so I can call you out on that because I know that you do. She's like, I'm gonna have to send my dog to treatment. You're so funny. Yeah, and you worry about the puppy like people worry about their kids, and I get that.
Yeah.
But we spend a whole lot of time worrying about stuff that. So whether you worry or not, that dog's gonna eat the food you put in front of them or not, right?
Right.
So stop
Right.
worrying about it. And
And as long as I'm showing her a lot of love, I've done what I can do. There's the food, and it's kind of the same way with me. Here's the food I can eat. Enjoy.
exactly. So we're gonna all give you permission to let that go.
So you brought up something really interesting for me. So I've been thinking of this last week about that obsessive compulsive thinking. You know, for me, that's just as much part of my disease, is that anything that I have that obsessive compulsive thinking about, even if I'm not picking up a substance or a person, it's that same thought process that follows me wherever I go.
Chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. We're very interesting people.
Yeah, so interesting. So interesting. But thanks for sharing. So that wasn't strange because that's something that we all do from time to time, depending on the person, thing, or experience that we're codependent on. So thanks for sharing.
Well, but I've laughed about it, but I'm not really, it's not really not funny. And I think we all laugh
I know.
about things that aren't funny really to us.
No, I know that that's real for you. And it's cool you're working on it. You put it out there and you're working on it. So, and you're going to see, it's like, you know, having a baby and you put the baby down for a nap. The baby's going to scream, okay, that happened, right? Until the baby learns to nap. It's like pretty basic.
Karen, you said
Right.
something that just really triggered something with me. When you said we laugh at a lot of things that are not funny, I was the happiest fat chick. I used to have the best sense of sarcastic humor you ever came across. I laughed at so many things. People said really hurtful things to me and I laughed at it like it didn't really mean anything. And that is so true. That's like, I think that's as much part of my disease as everything else, is that deflecting. You know, pretending that things are okay and everything's fine and I'm really happy, and putting on an outside front of this perfect, happy, kind of joyous and free kind of person when the inside I'm really miserable.
You know, we call that denial, you guys. Pretty basic denial, right? I'm going to make believe whatever's happening isn't happening inside of me, right? Yeah, I'm going to show up the way that I think that you want me to show up instead of the way that I actually need to show up to get well today. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you want to say something?
Oh, sorry, I was looking at.
Don't be sorry. We don't say I'm sorry here. We say I'm awesome. Yeah, I'm awesome. And
Come back to me.
yeah,
Okay.
we will for sure. Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning.
Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for Heidi for inviting me. What do I say?
Whatever-
Anything you want to say or
anything
nothing.
It's up to you.
Anything or nothing. It's completely up to you.
So, but I guess the reason that I'm here and I'm reaching out is because I'm really taking my program very seriously. I'm a gastric bypass 3 years ago, and I gained weight. Like it didn't, you know, if I couldn't eat a hamburger, then I would just eat like 6 blow pops, you know? So didn't fill my stomach up. I could just do, you know, just, it wasn't, I don't know. And then now I have to go, I'm going for surgery and I want to lose the weight before the surgery because I don't want the surgery after, it's a thing.
Okay.
And so, you know, I find myself not eating, you know, and my girlfriend joking around, she said, I go, man, I'm hungry. And she's like, well, when did you eat? I'm like, Thursday. You know, just like, won't eat, just drinking coffee or and, you know, I just don't want I want to get into recovery. I need to know how to be into that kind of recovery because it's such a different, I'm also an alcoholic addict. That you can see it, I could just stay abstinent from it. I don't have to see it, don't have to use it. Food is a little harder.
It's harder because you've decided that it's different. Addiction is addiction is addiction. When I wake up in the morning and I promise myself that I'm not gonna have 16 Percocet for breakfast this morning, and I get through the morning and then it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I eat those opiates anyway, and I go to bed feeling guilty and I wake up ashamed, I have a problem. When I wake up in the morning and I promise myself that I'm gonna do whatever's on my list of things to eat today or whatever, you know, my list that I made last week, and I get through the morning and then I get to the afternoon and I don't do it, and I go to bed guilty and I wake up ashamed, it's the same thing. When I wake up in the morning and I say I'm not gonna eat any Oreos today, and instead I starve myself, which anorexia is the same thing as any other addiction, and I starve myself and I go to bed scared and I'm thinking about it and I'm obsessing about it, and I wake up in the morning ashamed and scared, I have the same fucking problem as I had when I was drinking 16 bottles of tequila. It's the same thing. The thing that makes it different is your perception or your perspective about the difference. There's no different. Anything that we're picking up or not picking up that's going against what we feel is okay for us, where we are obsessing about it and we go to bed guilty and we wake up ashamed, it never matters what we are or aren't picking up. It matters what's happening here and here. That's the only thing that matters. So stop telling yourself it's different, because it's not. And that conception that everybody has, well, it's different because it's food, is bullshit. And it's the reason why 35% of our population is morbidly obese. Because not you, but everybody's doctor also, and I shouldn't say everybody's because that was a nasty thing to say, but the majority even of people in healthcare think that it's different or boo-hoo it as, yeah, come and have a surgery. That's like someone's going to give me a surgery and plant something in my system so that if I drink alcohol, I'm going to throw up for a year. After they take that out of my system and I haven't changed here, I'm going to drink, right? It's about you changing your perspective and you understanding why it is you're doing what you're doing, not what you're doing, because what you're doing is the end result of why you're doing it. So the addiction is exactly the same. If you're starving, if you're eating, if you're drugging, if you're drinking, if you're shooting up, if you're having sex with 16 people today, whatever it is that you're doing to try to change what's happening, that's not the challenge. The challenge is what's happening. So
That's why I'm
please,
here, to learn.
yeah, so that's,
I just
it's
don't know.
so important that you said that, because the majority of the population believes what you just said. And because of that, we have this tremendous problem with the amount of people that are, we're gonna call them food addicts.
You know, and seen as one of those cute addictions. So it's like people look down on it, and even people who are food addicts themselves, or they're stepping into the other rooms, will look at this and joke about the food addiction side, or they'll go get the cake when they're celebrating their 1 year, their 2 year, whatever it is. They don't put it in, they don't give it as much importance, because we judge different addictions and go, that one's not as serious because this one's not going to put you underneath a bridge. But you know what? It kills you just as quickly as the other addictions. If you start, when you start reaching a certain age, and for me, all of a sudden, you know, I was fine in my early years and through my 20s, and all of a sudden when I started hitting 40s and 50s, it started really catching up with me, that binging, that purging, those different diseases that came with it, me blowing out my colon. All the other stuff was purely food addiction, and no matter me focusing on all the other stuff, it still came back down to the food. It was my first addiction out of all of them, and it still came back to it. And until I started dealing with that, all the other stuff was easier in comparison because it looked more serious. You know, I didn't take it as seriously.
Also, ego-wise. So I'm an alcoholic and I don't drink. And now you can see that I don't drink. Good for me. I'm an anorexic and I don't eat. And you can't see that I don't eat. So on the outside, I still look good to you because you're not pointing your finger at me because I'm a piece of shit drunk, right? You're saying, wow, Felice, you look so good. You're fitting in your size 2 pants. It's horrifying. And when we talk about you getting sick, which is true, it takes a while for us to get sick. Sometimes on drugs and alcohol it doesn't take as long, but spiritually, we're sick from day one. Spiritually, we're just as sick, no matter what our drug of choice, no matter what we're picking up or not picking up. The spiritual sickness is the same, no matter how long it takes to catch up with us on the outside. Inside, we're still spiritually sick. And that's what we change. That's what we work on changing so that we could work on our behavior that we're used to.
You know, I've come to realize that food addiction is one of the most egotistical addictions because I stepped in wanting to look good. I thought it was another diet program. I'd get the quick fix. I'd be able to be thin, and it was all about dieting and that same mindset. The years I don't have photographs of me because I didn't look good enough. The years where I didn't go out to see people because my wardrobe had shrunk to this big of black clothes of a certain size. When I started wearing a size 24 wide, I didn't want to go anywhere besides being really uncomfortable and going places. So it was all about looking good. You know, as a food addict, I wanted to look good. I went for bariatric surgery to look good. There's a difference. If I'm a drug addict, I'm doing it to save my life because I'm dying, okay, for different things. I can't drive my car properly when I'm stoned and I'm high. You know, my conversations are not that succinct, but I can go and binge on food and purge on food and still look okay and still perform okay on the outside until I'm not. So I honestly believe that I am so egotistical because I'm driven by ego. I want to look good on the outside. And I think because of that, it denigrates the actual addiction. So I'm able to turn around and go, you know, you're so lucky you're an alcoholic because you just stopped drinking and food's everywhere.
Yeah.
We used to have those conversations until I started realizing everything's everywhere. It's whatever you're looking for, you're going to find. It's when you start changing your perspective and your choices is really when things start shifting. When I know that I've been out and done so much research that if I pick up certain things, I'm going to end up the same way and feel exactly the same way that I have no matter what kind of scenarios. For today, just for today, I'm not picking up those starches and those things that really get me going because you know what? I know what it looks like. I start binging and then I start purging and then I start feeling like shit at the end of the day and I start lying.
And before all that, we're spiritually sick. So we don't want to lose that. That's what everybody needs to be reminding themselves of. It's not an illness of Oreo cookies, and it's not an illness of Jack Daniels, and it's not an illness of needles and shooting up. It's a spiritual malady where we have absolutely no idea of how to live life on life's terms and no idea of how to accept the world the way that it is and how not to walk around in fear and how to stop trying to change absolutely everything that I feel at that second that I feel it so that I don't have to feel the way that I feel in my own skin. And it's always going to get back to that, why am I doing what I'm doing? What's going on with me that I can learn to change so that I don't have to pick up? It's never about picking up. It's never about what we're picking up. It's always about why we're picking up. So it's what's going on. And what you said is so friggin' incredibly important because you and probably 90% of the population think exactly what you just said. Exactly. I promise you. I promise you. Everybody out there was going like this, yeah, she's right when she said it, right? Everybody is.
100%.
Because that's what everybody thinks. And that ain't it, baby. It's about what's going on here.
I have
Thank
a
you.
question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a question.
Awesome that you said that.
Yeah, back to what you just said. Can you hear me now? Thinking back to what you just said, you said everybody wants to, you want to look good,
Mm-hmm.
you want to feel good, we all want to feel good. You said, you pointed out the whole American system of wanting to feel happy and stuff like that. So that's the thing. When you're in that position when you don't feel good or you don't look good, it's learning how to accept that moment of, oh, I don't feel so good today, or I don't look so good today. Like, how do you go about accepting that, knowing that it's not gonna be there forever, right?
Right, that everything is happening for just now. And I have patients that come into my office and they're miserable and I'm like, before you speak, tell me 3 things you're grateful for. Bam. You want to talk about changing your perspective? Change your perspective. Look at the things that you're grateful for. Look at the things that you're happy about. Look at the thing, getting a new car, that's an awesome thing, right? You got a brand new car, it smells good, it looks good, your tunes sound great on the radio. That's something that you change for the second. Being happy that you're not, I didn't just get my legs cut off in an automobile accident is a little bit more important than being happy that I just got a new car. It's coming back to reality and seeing what I have of the way that my life is right now and being grateful for what it is that I have. Not being stoned happy on, flying high on something, but about having acceptance for the way that things are and looking at the way that things are and being grateful.
And it also leads into something else. It leads into that point where we're not happy, but we don't do things to hurt ourselves to make us more miserable. So when I would slide into that, all of a sudden I'd feel terrible about myself. So what would I do? I'd go and binge more. So it's like taking out the bat and beating myself up because I'm feeling like shit. And then I'd end up feeling up even worse. And then I want to kill myself. So that becomes like the slide down. Then I'm feeling really bad. Instead of reaching out to someone in community and saying, listen, I'm having a really tough day. I don't know how to deal with this, or I just need to talk to somebody, or I need someone just to hear it. We have What's Eating You as a Facebook closed page. People post their gratitude. Very few people will write on there and say, listen, I'm really struggling a little bit today. It's an open community of addicts. Every single person in that community is an addict. Some of us in recovery, some of us not. But every single person is struggling. Do you know how few people actually ask for help? They will do anything for a friend or for their family or whoever it is. They'll do anything for somebody else other than themselves. They will go out of their way to actually help a stranger. But when it comes to themselves, they struggle to actually even ask for help. It's the loneliest place to be. We are gifting you a community. There's a place to go out and say, listen, guys, I don't know what this is or why I'm doing this or why I'm feeling this way. This is what's going on in my world. And people struggle just to ask for help.
And that is part of ego. And we talk about my ego as how great I'm looking on the outside, as opposed to how I'm feeling, right? They say have your insides match your outsides. And so when we're walking around with 40,000 different forms of fear and we're saying everything's perfect on the outside, that's a challenge that I don't know if just addicts have, but I think people have that challenge in general. Everybody wants to look good on the outside no matter how they're feeling on the inside, because if I let you know how I really feel, maybe you're not going to like me. Maybe you're not going to think I'm so awesome and so strong and so wonderful and so great. And maybe you're going to see me as a human being, which, by the way, makes me a whole lot more relatable than when I'm not letting you see who I am.
That's
Yeah, go ahead.
That's an interesting point of view that you just shared. Yesterday, well, you all know that I got hammered with kind of all my character defects at one time, a little bit back, and over the past couple weeks, especially this past week, I've been very dark.
Okay.
I haven't been able to get out of it, suicidal, the whole thing. And yesterday, my family set me down, and they said, we see you're going dark, and you put up a wall. You're very easy to put up a wall in a face that is untouchable, like you don't want to be talked to, and that's really easy for you to go. But we want to know how we can help you. What can we do to help you? And my answer was, I don't know,
Okay.
because I don't even know how it comes about that I get to that place. It just happens. But my question is, especially with the reading that we read today, the what ifs. Because I don't think about the what ifs as tomorrow or yesterday. Sometimes I'm in the what if of the moment, because driving down the street and thinking, well, if I hit this telephone pole, will I die?
Mm-hmm.
If I hit the person in front of me, will I die? And
Do you want to die? Do you want to hit the person in front of you and die?
no, but then my what if comes in, because then it's, what if that's gonna hurt my family? What if I don't die and I'm just paralyzed?
So I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, you guys, anybody else, if you actually think you're suicidal, go check yourself into somewhere. I'm not kidding.
No, I understand.
And get well, because you are gonna affect your family.
Well, and
So,
I'm post bariatric surgery.
I know.
And I've not really shared too much on that. I almost died from that.
Okay.
And it still affects me to this day. And I just
What still affects you? The fact that you almost died from it, or the fact that
Yeah.
you're post surgery?
Yeah, the fact I almost died from my bariatric.
How is that affecting you today?
Because of the way I have to eat.
The way that you choose
know?
to eat. You can
It's
choose.
crazy.
I want to hear you say, because of the way that I choose to eat.
Because of the way I choose to eat.
Right, not the way that you have to eat. You could be like the other people online who say, well, I only go to McDonald's once a day and I cut up my Big Mac and I eat it through the day and then I eat chocolate bars in between. That's their choice.
Yeah, I know.
So it's the way
certain
that
things
you're
I can't.
Well, there's things that you choose not to.
No, I
because
choose
you
not
can
to because
do
of my
whatever.
health. I want to stay
Exactly.
healthy.
So it's still a choice that you're making. So let's put a little bit of a positive spin on that.
That's why I'm talking about
Yeah,
it.
I
Because
know.
need that little
I know.
positive twist, and it was interesting what you said because it made me go, oh, okay.
Right. So as long as you're coming from a place of lack, you're going to be miserable. As
And
long
that's
as you're
why
coming
I'm
from I can't do
awake.
this and I can't do this and I can't do this, that's poor pitiful me.
Yeah,
When you get to say, you know what, this morning I got up, I went to a meeting,
I did.
I hung out with some like-minded people, and today I know that this is my choice. I could choose to OD this morning. That's my choice. I can choose to drink. That's my choice. Really quick story that I've told before. So I was with Joe, and we were out. I had like 2 years clean, and we were out at some resort. And I always tell the story, like the 4-year-olds, it was 10 o'clock in the morning, and the 4-year-olds must have been drinking like pina coladas and rum runners in the pool. Like everybody was drinking. And I turned around to him and I said, I can't believe I could never drink again. And he said to me, yes, you can. And I was like, I flipped him the bird, and I'm like, today I choose not to drink. And he's like, yeah, you might want to remember that. It's a choice that we make. And so when we put ourselves back in the driver's seat and stop playing the victim, Angela, your favorite word, victim, she hated me for so long because I used that word. You're not a victim, right? You have choices. We could choose to
Yes.
kill ourselves right now. So your choice is to not eat certain things that make you sick,
Absolutely.
and your choice is to eat things that aren't going to make you sick.
Correct.
That's a choice that you're making. So those are good choices that you're making.
Yeah, and my choice was to get myself out of that darkness, pick myself up out of the couch and out of my pajamas,
Perfect.
and start going back to meetings, and that's what I did this whole week. So it's been
Perfect.
just that roller coaster, and I'm learning that, being new in recovery, that, riding that roller coaster, I think a part of it for me is also life has become pretty manageable and pretty normal. And because I don't know what that feels like, it scares me, I think.
So you know how they say, and I say this too, that I used because I was sad, or I used because I was happy, or I used because it was Tuesday.
That's what I say.
Because that's what I did. I used, right? It becomes a way of life. And so now maybe you're not so sad, and maybe you're not so, maybe there's not something, but it is Tuesday. And so it's still what you're used to doing. It's still what the receptors in your brain are asking you to do, right? And you're aware of that. So that part's great. Do what you need to do for your recovery. Do you see a therapist?
Yes.
Great. Awesome. See a
Yes.
therapist.
Yeah, no, I've been doing that, and I'm better. It's like I know I'm not going to act on anything.
Good.
I mean, I know that for sure. It's just that stinking thinking that I can't seem to out of my head.
That I'm working on.
Yes, I am working
Not
on
that I
it. More
can't,
prayer,
that I'm
more
working on.
meditation, more,
My challenge to
talking.
you this week is every time you're going to say a word can't or won't or shouldn't, or that you change your perspective and put a different word in. I'm choosing to,
Okay,
or I can, or I'm working on.
I like that.
Okay?
Yes,
And
I
get
like
out
that.
of that.
Thank
Because
you.
remember, our brain, you saying, I can't do this, is me saying to you, you can't do this. Your brain hears the same thing whether you're saying it to you or I am. Okay?
Yeah, because I choose not to do those things. I
Right.
know, and I choose not to put a bottle of vodka in my face.
Awesome. I
You
chose
know?
that today too.
Can we just check in? I'm sorry, because we're starting to run out
Sure.
of time. Can we just check in with, you want to say something?
That's great. A lot of feelings. Fear,
Mhm.
anger at myself. I feel like a failure. And I was in recovery for a full week. It was great. and then things that are happening in my life right now, I think I went off because I wanted to punish myself.
Okay, and so remember, you weren't in recovery for a week, you were abstinent for a week.
I was abstinent for a
Right,
week.
right, good. And
And-
so your abstinence will allow you to work on the recovery. So the abstinence thing, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, that's the way that it is. That part you got to keep so that our brains get a tiny bit less crazy than our brains are when we're using. And it's sticking with it, and before you use, reaching out to somebody in the community and saying, I'm standing on the ledge. Right now I'm jumping. You know, somebody tell me why I shouldn't jump. And start reaching out, because that's going to be part of you stepping actually into recovery. I know that you're scared, and I'm sorry that you are. And I know that there are a bunch of things going on in your life, but perspective-wise, at least in the beginning, you're going to have to stop using so that you could clear out your brain a little bit. We've all done that. We've all had to stop using. So you got to stop using. You need to make that choice that today, just for this second, I'm not going to pick up. And when you feel like you're going to, reach out to somebody. You know, I text people, my life is great today, I feel like using. You know, and I say it so that I don't do it. So think about that.
We're gonna have to finish
Yeah, we're
offline.
gonna have to finish
It's 10 o'clock. I just wanted to say we meet up
Thank you,
again.
Liz.
We're not gonna have time. We meet up again on Thursday at 7. And 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We are also going to be having a one-day workshop as well for people who want to know if they're addicts, if they are emotional eaters, compulsive overeaters, bingers, purgers. We will post the information. There are just 4 of us that really get involved, are doing what we're doing. So we're looking for people to be of service. Anyone who wants to be of service, step in and help us get out the message. Please IM me, because we are trying to get the message out there. No one needs to struggle with addiction. It's horrific.
Yeah, and we're over time, and I'm
Yeah.
still going to read the promises real quick from the big book of AA, because I gotta. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that the universe does for us what we can't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We don't think so, because they're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but they always